Welcome to another episode of Software Explorations, hosted by your truly tech coach Ralph, where we're going to twin. In this episode of Software Explorations, we're going to be diving into sprint reviews, the key ceremony in Agile. I know that I've been talking about uploading the sprint reviews that the tech barbarians do over and over and over again, but it just hit me like, you know what? Maybe you guys aren't too familiar with what sprint reviews are. So I wanted to break that down with you, to you, so that you can have a better understanding of what I'm talking about, and then you can actually watch and see what it is that we're actually reviewing. It can make a lot more sense to you. All right. But before we go any further, do me a big favor, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live and drop new content. All right. And if you go over to techcoachralph.dev, you can see all the content that I'm putting up there, the Scrum reviews that I'm talking about now. You can get access to the full Scrum Night as well as get exclusive content where I am showing you how to research on LinkedIn, how to research on Glassdoor, how to update your resume. You can sign up for one-on-one coaching where we can work together. I can help you with your resume, prepare that. I can help you prepare for job interviews. I can help you upgrade your skill set so that, and you can work with our team and you can be part of this reviews as well as the Scrum process. But that is at techcoachralph.dev. Check it out today, sign up for free, and then you can upgrade from there, right? With that being said, we're going to jump into this presentation on what exactly is a sprint review. Let's get to it. So our topics for today, we're going to be talking about sprint reviews, a key ceremony in Agile Scrum. So let's get to it. So our agenda for today, we're going to be talking about what are sprint reviews, why the sprint reviews are important, when and where they actually happen, who should be there, the structure of a sprint review, the best practices for performing sprint reviews, some common challenges that we face as developers, as stakeholders, as just software development teams, the tips and tricks to get around those key challenges, some tools and techniques that can be used, measuring success for like to see if a sprint review is successful. We're going to review some case studies and some examples, and then we're going to wrap it up with our conclusion. All right. So let's get to it. So what exactly is a sprint review? It's a sprint review is a collaborative meeting held at the end of each sprint in Agile development. So think of a sprint as a iterative process where we're going to choose some things to work on, and then we're going to work on it, and then we're going to, so at the end of that process, it can be a sprint can be 1 week, can be 2 weeks, can be 3 weeks, can be 4 weeks. We don't want to go any more than 4 weeks. It's never really shorter than 1 week. Typically it's about 2 weeks, right? So its purpose is to inspect the work completed during the sprint, gather feedback from stakeholders, and discuss progress towards the project goals. The team demonstrates the product increment, and the product backlog is updated based on the input from the review, ensuring alignment with business needs and market changes. So pretty much we are doing a little bit of work and we're presenting that to the team, and then we're getting feedback, and then we're adjusting from there. So this picture shows what goes on in a sprint review. We have the Scrum Master, the product owner, we have the developers, and we have the stakeholders who are gathered around discussing what happened in the sprint, and they have it on the screen, like showing the live demonstration. So this is just a picture of like the type of things that go on in a sprint review. So what is the actual importance of a sprint review? So it ensures alignment with goals. It provides a regular opportunity for teams and stakeholders to ensure that the product is progressing in line with business objectives, making adjustments if necessary. It also encourages feedback and collaboration by involving stakeholders. The sprint review fosters open communication, allowing for valuable feedback and insights that can shape the direction of future work. It also promotes transparency and adaptability. The review offers a transparent view of what has been accomplished, helping the team and stakeholders identify any necessary changes to the backlog and adapt the product to evolving needs and market conditions. So, when and where do these sprint reviews actually take place? So the when. At the end of each sprint, which is predefined time frame, commonly 1 to 4 weeks. It can, like most typically sprint reviews sprints are about 2 weeks long, but they can get down to 1 week depending on how the team works. The most that they should ever be is about 4 weeks, right? So the sprint review happens before the next sprint starts and after the sprint retrospective. I kind of disagree with this. From my experience, I've always seen the sprint review happen at the end of the current, like once we close that current sprint, we have a sprint review, and we discuss, we get the feedback and the engagement from the stakeholders, and then we go into the sprint retrospective. We will be making a video about sprint retrospectives in the near future. So where do these sprint reviews actually happen? They can be held in person or virtually, depending on the team setup. They occur in a meeting room for co-located teams or via video conference tools for distributed teams. So in my experience, depending on like who's in the office, who's remote, you can have the people who are in office get together and have the sprint review there, and then the people who are remote call in, whether Zoom, whether like Microsoft Teams, whether it's on like Slack, for instance, and then the meeting can also be recorded. So the environment should encourage open discussion and feedback from all participants. We definitely need the feedback of everyone who's in attendance, because like me and QA might see something in one perspective, the developers might see something in another perspective, the end user might see something in another perspective. So we just definitely support representatives might see something in another perspective. So it's so important that we have the everybody who's open to discussion and giving feedback. So who should attend the sprint review, right? So the development team, of course, they present the work completed during the sprint and discuss any challenges or successes. The product owner, of course, ensures that the work meets the product goals and backlog priorities. They also facilitate feedback and may discuss potential changes to the backlog. Stakeholders so important that the stakeholders are there. They are the key business representatives, the customers, and sometimes the end users. They provide feedback and validate the product's progress. So they say, all right, this is heading in the right direction. Oh, actually, did you consider this? Could we have that? And I mean, I've been in so many of those meetings where we're getting valuable feedback from the stakeholders, right? And then the Scrum Master facilitates the meeting and ensures it follows Scrum principles, keeping it focused and productive. So what is the actual structure of the sprint review? So reviewing the sprint goal, the product owner or Scrum Master begins by outlining the sprint goals and objectives, setting the context for the work that was done. Demonstration of completed work. The development team presents and demonstrates the product increments, new features, improvements, etc. Completed during the sprint. This is a live, keyword is live demonstration. And by live, it can mean like you're actually navigating through the software, the application, or it can be a pre-recorded demonstration, because, a lot of times when you're doing things live, you might run into complications. Maybe your internet stops working. Maybe who knows what, you know how things go when you're trying to do a live demonstration in front of a big group of people. So you might get it pre-recorded, but the main important thing is you're not just giving a status update. You do not want to give a status update, because no one's like, it's going to be super boring, and then you're going to start losing attendees, right? And then feedback and discussion. Stakeholders including the product owner and other business representatives provide feedback on the work presented. This helps ensure alignment with broader project goals and user needs. To continue, the product backlog review and updates. Based on feedback, the team and stakeholders discuss adjustments to the product backlog. This may include adding new items and refining existing ones, or reprioritizing features based on new insights. So we have the backlog that's existing, but it's very adjustable. It's very malleable based on the feedback that we're getting in real time from the stakeholders, from the product owner, from anybody who say, oh, okay, we like this, but we noticed this and that and the other, and we need to make a shift going that way. It happens all the time. Next up, future sprint planning. The team may discuss possible next steps for future sprints, taking into account feedback and any changes to the backlog. This helps guide priorities moving forward. So this is just building off the one that we just read about the product backlog review and updates. Both of these, it's not like we're going to spend like a whole hour doing all this inside the meeting. We're going to get that feedback, and then we're going to take it offline. The product owner might follow up with the stakeholders. The product owner might meet with the development team, so that we can put things in the proper order, and then we can plan going forward accordingly. And then in closing, the Scrum Master summarizes the outcome of the sprint review and any key decisions made, and ensures the team is ready for the next phase of work, right? All right. So what are the best practices for sprint reviews? All right. So I'm just going to read through these real quick, and then we're going to jump into it. So focus on working product, encourage active stakeholder engagement, and prepare in advance. So let's go through these three. Demonstrate only completed working features. Avoid showing incomplete work or features that haven't been fully integrated or tested, as the goal is to present shippable increments. So I think this is a big challenge for a lot of teams, because a lot of times you come to the end of the sprint and you're like, oh man, I have to show something. And it's like you're showing something that is semi-working. It's like almost working, but it's not completely working. You still have a little bit of work to do. And because of things can change, it's not the best practice to show things that are not fully completed and shipped inside of the sprint review, right? It's a massive struggle, but the best practice is to only show completed and working features. So the next one, encourage active stakeholder engagement. Involve stakeholders throughout the review. Encourage them to ask questions, provide feedback, and discuss the direction of the product to ensure their expectations are being met. One thing that I like to do is so in addition to ask if there's any questions, right? A lot of people are there any questions? I like to also ask targeted questions, sometimes to the targeted stakeholders. So Jim, what do you think about this feature? So Susan, what do you think about that button? So Tim, what do you think about the way that customers can access this? Because a lot of times the stakeholders might be hesitant to offer any feedback or ask any questions, but sometimes you might just want to ask them like, what are your thoughts? And then you might actually be able to like if they're not asking you any questions, maybe you can ask them a question that will facilitate some thought, and then they will contribute to the conversation, and help. Sometimes you have to help them help you. You know what I mean? So prepare in advance. The team should prepare for the sprint review by ensuring that the product increment is ready for demonstration and that relevant data like sprint goals and metrics is available for discussion. So have everything ready. Don't try to wing it. Don't be caught flat footed. So you have to come prepared for action. So let's continue. So the next two, keep the review time bound and use use visuals and clear demonstration. So while feedback is important, keep the review structured and time limited. Typically, the review should last about 1 hour per week of sprint review. That is a lot of time. I've never been in a sprint review that lasted that long, but I'm going to go with this. It says with the presentation, with what the recommendation is, a 2 weeks review would be about 2 hours. I think that's ludicrous, right? That I don't, maybe people practice that around, but I've never been in a sprint review that lasted 2 hours long, right? Basically there's not like, I don't know what size teams people are working on, but there's never that much to present to a team for a 2 week sprint review. We focus on the features that we've implemented, and then we ask for feedback, and then we give our updates, and then we keep it moving. All right. So I think this number at 1 hour per week of sprint review is absolutely crazy, unless it's many teams who are presenting in the same sprint review. That is a different situation, right? So there's some caveats, but for me, like for single teams reviewing, I don't see that happening. Right. Use visual and clear demonstrations. Whenever possible, use visuals like charts, graphs, and live demos to make the information easier to digest and more engaging for the attendees. I totally agree with that. So the next two, foster collaborative discussions and review progress towards overall goals. So encourage open discussion where both the team and stakeholders can share their insights. Ensure the review is a collaborative session rather than just a presentation. Yes, like I was saying earlier, ask questions, get them to sometimes you ask the stakeholder specific questions to draw it out of them, because sometimes they don't want to talk. They might have an idea, but they're not sure if they should share it. Draw it out of them. Sometimes you can go a little bit back and forth between the development team and the stakeholders, but it is very, very healthy conversation. Then lastly, review progress towards overall goals. Tie the sprint accomplishments back to the broader product and project goals to provide context and show how the product is evolving. Very, very important. I like to show like this is where we started, this is where we're at now, and how we are something with the Tech Barbarians, showing them like where we came from and where we are now, and how we are continuing to get better and build better software, creating new software, things of that nature. Always learning, always growing. So, and this is an example of the collaborative session. Just want to throw a picture in there to show like how we work together, how we're discussing, how we're evolving, how we're implementing different things. Right. So, what are the common challenges that we face as software development teams inside of sprint reviews? Right. So, I think the biggest one is like, which I've been hinting on, is lack of stakeholder engagement. Super, super hard to build software for people who don't want to tell you what they want built, right? Incomplete or non-demonstratable work, very like that. Like I was saying, that is another one. Turning into a status meeting, we don't want to just have a checklist. Overly long or unstructured meetings, I hate long. I hate long meetings, right? And unstructured, nope. Give me an agenda. Failure to incorporate feedback and focus. So failure to incorporate feedback, the feedback that you do get from the stakeholders, you don't put that in there. And then focusing on technical details, that is a huge challenge for software development teams. All right. So let's get into these one by one. Lack of stakeholder engagement. If key stakeholders don't attend or actively participate, valuable feedback may be missed, and alignment with business objectives can suffer. And this is like the top one right here, because if you do not, we don't want the business objectives to suffer, but in order for them not to suffer, we have to get that feedback. All right. Incomplete and non-demonstratable work. Showing unfinished work or work that can't be fully demonstrated may confuse stakeholders and reduce trust in the team's progress. So one thing that I was on a team a long time ago, and they would show like partially completed work. So then now the stakeholders think it's ready to use, and it's like it's not ready. So now they're asking like, oh, so how do I do this? I'm like, oh, it's not ready yet. We haven't really seen it. Like okay, why are we showing it then? Why are we showing it? So like that, and now they're like, we don't really believe you that it's out there, you know. So wait until it's released and then demonstrate it. Turning into a status meeting. A sprint review can devolve into a status update rather than a collaborative review of working software, losing focus on product evolution and valuable feedback. So key thing, always demonstrating complete work that the stakeholders can give you feedback on instead of saying, okay, we did this, and this. Like, okay, that's not the purpose of this meeting, all right? They can go and look at your backlog or your Scrum reports to see what you've completed, but we want to show working software. That trumps everything. Overly long or unstructured meetings, reviews that lack structure or run too long can become tedious. Yes, tedious, reducing participation. Nobody wants to come and focus. Now they're looking at their phone. They're not engaged, and it becomes a mess. This can undermine the purpose of the meeting, definitely. Failure to incorporate feedback. If stakeholder feedback isn't properly considered and acted upon, future sprint reviews may become less productive as stakeholders feel their input is not valued. And that's a lot. If the stakeholder feels their input is not valued, they're not going to show up. And now you're just going to be building a bunch of crap that nobody cares about. And it's going to be like all the things that are prior to this one will come into play. And then lastly, focus on technical details. Overly technical discussions may alienate non-technical stakeholders, making it harder for them to provide useful feedback and understand the product's progress. One of the biggest mistakes that we as developers make is showing code and talking, Techniques, whatever that language would be, inside of these sprint reviews where it's people who don't understand. Now, if you are on a super technical sprint or team and your stakeholders are technical people, you might be able to get away with it, right? However, when you have people who are, end users and things of that nature, attending your sprint reviews, and you're talking all this tech talk, and now they have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Now, they're not even going to want to come anymore. It's going to be too complicated. They're like, all right, I don't see what the need to be here for, So you have to know your audience. You have to know your audience as much as possible. Do not focus on technical details. So, what are some tips and tricks so that you can have the most awesomest, if that's a word, sprint review in the whole entire world? So maximizing stakeholder engagement, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes you have to ask your stakeholder a question so that they can be more engaged. So one of the keys to a successful sprint review is making sure stakeholders are actively engaged. Be creative in how to get your stakeholders to be engaged, right? Clear preparation and structure. Another approach is to focus on proper preparation and maintaining a structured meeting, definitely. Another one, involving stakeholders early. Provide stakeholders with a background on the sprint review before on the sprint before they review, so they know what to expect and can prepare for a relevant feedback. So pretty much sitting out an agenda, this is what we worked on, this is what we're going to be talking about. So now when everybody's there, you're like, okay, they understand what's going on and they have questions that they can ask you about what we're actually working on, or what we're demonstrating. Not a status update, but what we're demonstrating, right? Asking for feedback during a demo. Encourage real-time feedback as you demonstrate features. This keeps stakeholders involved and ensure the review remains interactive. So like one thing I even like to do, if possible, I'd like the stakeholders to drive the demonstration so that we can see as well how are they interacting with it. Did we because like ask them, okay, what do you want me to do? Where do you want me to go? And then they're like, okay, click here and click there and click there. And like, oh my God, this is so cool. So that is the type of things that I like to do to keep them involved, forcing them to ask questions, having a conversation with them so that it's very, very interactive and they stay engaged. Preparation and structure. Prepare visuals and demos ahead of time. Make sure that the team has everything ready for the sprint review, including working demos and clear visual aids like charts and metrics. Stick to a time box agenda. Create an agenda that outlines the sprint review's flow and stick to it, ensuring that each aspect of the review gets covered within the time frame. A lot of times, like, we can go off on a tangent and you have to say, okay, we're at 15 minutes on this topic. Let's table this discussion. We might have to make a follow-up meeting. We might have to do additional questions and conversations async, whatever the case may be, but it's time for us to move on. We can't just spend the whole time focused on this one thing. So stick to that time box agenda and continue the meeting going, because a lot of times we can go off on a tangent and then we all lose at that point. So Tools for sprint reviews, right? So some collaboration tools: Zoom, Teams, Google Meet. You can meet on those. We can have Slack as well. Other collaboration tools like are for those whiteboarding sessions like Mural, things of that nature. Project management tools: Jira, Trello, Azure DevOps, and there's Asana. There's so many different tools, right? Presentation tools: you have Google Slides, you have Microsoft PowerPoint, you have Loom to be able to record the presentations. You can even record on on Google Meet. You can record on Zoom as well. Teams, I'm not too sure. And then version control tools: Bitbucket, GitHub. So many different ones. I think AWS has like code pipeline. So many different things that you can use to for version control. So many different tools to make an effective sprint review. So sprint review techniques. So we have live demonstrations, time boxing, active feedback collection, burn down charts and metric displays, using storyboards, role playing as the end user, similar like to what I was saying, where you have the end user directing where you want them to go. So let's see what we got here. All right. So we don't have to jump too far into the other one, but measuring success. How engaged is your stakeholder, right? What are you using the feedback that's being given? Product increment quality. So what's the quality of every iteration? Clarity and transparency, time efficiency, sprint review outcomes, and then the team and stakeholder satisfaction. How happy is your team, and how satisfied is your stakeholders, right? So let's jump into each of these, right? So the stakeholder engagement, attendance. Are key stakeholders regularly attending the sprint review? A high turnout indicates that stakeholders find value in the meeting. So let's say your first sprint review, you have 20 people, and then the next one you have 15, third one you have 10. After that, you have 5. Like, okay, what's going on? Why is it getting less? Why do not have regularly attending stakeholders? Because we need their feedback, right? So if that's happening, you have to make a change, right? Active participation. How interactive are your stakeholders? Are they asking questions? Are they giving feedback? Are they contributing ideas during the process? Or are they like kind of quiet? They don't have much to say. They're not even showing up anymore. We have to check on that. Feedback utilization. Incorporation of feedback. Assess how much stakeholder feedback is being incorporated into the product backlog or future sprint planning. If it's not being incorporated, then why are they even there, right? They're the one who's driving the development of the product. Now, just because they say one exact thing, it doesn't mean we have to do it that way. But we should be incorporating their feedback into making it work, making the product work the way that they're requesting. Like it's not just okay. One person requests this and we just do it. No. You gather a bunch of feedback, and now you find a way to make it in a working way that's going to satisfy everybody. Alignment with stakeholder expectations. A successful sprint review should ensure that the product is meeting stakeholder expectations. This can be measured by the positive alignment between the demonstrated work and the product vision. All right, product increment quality. Demonstrated progress. Regular presentation of working shippable product increments shows the team ability to consistently deliver value. Consistently, like so important. Like you don't want to say, "Oh, I'm going to deliver this this week," and then 6 weeks later, now we're delivering something else. No, every sprint iteration, we should be delivering something, no matter how small it is. As long as it's valuable, we should be delivering something, right? The quality and completion of these increments can indicate the team's productivity and sprint success. Completion of sprint goals. Evaluate how often the team completes the planned sprint goal. Consistent completion rates suggest that the sprint review is a productive checkpoint in the Agile process. Exactly. So, clarity and transparency. Clear communication. Measure the clarity of the communication between the team and stakeholders during the review. Are stakeholders leaving with a clear understanding of what has been achieved and the next steps? Transparency of progress. The sprint review should make the team's progress visible to everyone. This can be assessed by tracking whether stakeholders are informed about the current status of the project and future plans. So the stakeholders should never be caught off guard. They should know what's coming up, what has been done, where the product is, what features they have available to them to use, all right? Time efficiency. Staying within time limits. Measure if the review stays within the allocated time box. Efficient reviews indicate that the team is well prepared and focused without dragging out discussions unnecessarily. Like I was saying earlier, maybe we have to table this conversation. Maybe we have to call a second meeting with the necessary people to talk about this. Maybe the product owner needs to get with some of the stakeholders and relay that information back to the team. maybe this is not a discussion for the entire team or a discussion for the sprint review, right? So we need to be very, very focused. So this leads us to focused discussions. Ensure that the review stays focused on the product increment and in alignment with the overall project, avoiding deviations into non-relevant technical or process discussions. Totally true. Sprint review outcomes. So, actionable backlog updates. The product backlog should be updated with the new insights priorities or changes based on the review's outcome. Regularly adjusting the backlog and next sprint goals shows that the review is impacting future work. Very important. You can't say, okay, we're going to do exactly this, and this. The word agile, meaning that we have to be malleable. We have to be able to change directions based on the feedback that we're getting. Improved planning for future sprints. The quality of future sprint planning improves as a team and stakeholder gets better at refining and adapting backlog items based on review discussion. So, team and stakeholder satisfaction. Feedback from the team and stakeholders. Conduct periodic surveys or collect informal feedback to gauge the team and stakeholder satisfaction with the sprint review process. If participants feel that it adds value and provides clarity, it indicates a successful review. All right, so let's jump into some case studies before we wrap this up. So we have case studies from Spotify, ING, Microsoft, Zalando, and Philips. All right, so let's jump into them and talk about what challenges that they had, how they overcame those challenges, okay? So Spotify, we all know Spotify. Spotify, known for its use of agile methodologies, faced challenges with gathering actionable feedback from stakeholders during sprint reviews. Stakeholders weren't engaging and feedback was often too vague to be useful. So what did Spotify do about this? Spotify restructured its sprint review by making them more engaging and targeted. The team began focusing on specific aspects of the product in each review rather than presenting everything, allowing stakeholders to dive deeper into the most relevant topics. They also involve users in the sprint review session to get real-time feedback on usability. That is awesome because based on what they're showing in the sprint review, they're actually able to get feedback from the end user, from the stakeholders. Say, oh, this might be difficult for our customers to use, for the clients to use. Oh, this looks really good, things of that nature. And now they can go running off that to build upon that. So what was the outcome for Spotify? This approach led to higher stakeholder engagement, better targeted feedback, and product adjustments that more accurately align with the user needs and business goals. So shout out to that. Shout out to Spotify. Next up, ING. ING is a global banking corporation. It adopted Agile across multiple teams, but found that the sprint reviews were turning into routine technical status updates with little stakeholder participation. That sucks, right? But what did they do about it? ING introduced a more business-focused approach to their sprint reviews. They brought in business owners and emphasized the connection between sprint deliverables and broader business goals. The reviews were refocused on the value of the product increment and how it impacted the customer experience. So what did they do? They took it away from the technical team and they brought it back to focusing on the customer. How does the work that we're doing impact our customers, our end users? Because that's what matters at the end of the day. It's not the technical people who are using the software. It is the end users. So we need to focus on them. So what was the outcome of ING doing this? The shift resulted in more relevant conversations during sprint reviews as stakeholders were able to see how the sprint directly impacted business outcomes. The product backlog was also better aligned with the business priorities, resulting in improved product market fit. So how does what we're doing from the technical side go all the way over to the end user, and how does that impact them? That is the key, and that is what's going to make the biggest difference. Let's jump over to Microsoft. We all know Microsoft. So Microsoft teams working remotely face difficulties conducting effective sprint reviews due to the time zone differences and misaligned feedback cycles. Reviews often took too long, causing stakeholders to get bored, like, why am I even here? To lose interest. And virtual demonstrations were sometimes plagued by technical issues. The worst. Like, it's like, oh, let me demo this, and then internet down, something, who knows what, right? How did Microsoft overcome this challenge, right? So Microsoft implemented a structured time box agenda for sprint reviews and used pre-recorded demos to minimize technical glitches during presentations. They also adopted tools like Microsoft Teams and Miro to engage stakeholders through real-time collaboration, ensuring everyone could participate regardless of their location. The outcome of this was the sprint reviews became more efficient with clearer presentations and increased engagement from remote stakeholders. The time box approach also kept meetings focused and productive, leading to faster decision making and more dynamic backlog adjustment process. Shout out to that. And then we have Zalando. So, who is Zalando? So, it is a large e-commerce company. Zalando operates with multiple agile teams working on interconnected systems. Initially, sprint reviews were limited to individual teams, and cross-team feedback was scarce, leading to integration challenges and misaligned goals. How did Zalando overcome this? So they introduced joint sprint reviews where multiple teams, remember I was talking about earlier about how multiple teams doing the sprint review, how that can go longer. I don't see a single team doing a 2 hour. No, God, no. All right. But where multiple teams presented their increments, especially when dependencies were involved, this allowed for greater visibility into how different teams work was interconnected, encouraging cross-team feedback and collaboration. Super awesome. The outcome for Zalando was the joint review led to better coordination between teams, reducing integration issues and aligning product development efforts across the organization. This also improved the pace of development and the quality of cross-functional features. And last but not least, we have Philips. You guys know Philips, they make light bulbs and speakers and all types of stuff, right? So the context of Philips. So the context for Philips, right? Philips used Agile for software development, but found that stakeholders were disengaged during sprint reviews. Stakeholders felt the reviews were too technical and couldn't see the business relevance of the work. Like, why the hell should we care about this, right? Like, I'm sitting here and you're talking about looking at this line of code and that line of code, and I'm like, what? I don't understand this. Why am I here? How does this affect my end users screwing in a light bulb? How does it affect them connecting their Bluetooth to their phone? Like, what are you doing here? Why am I here? So, how did Philips resolve this, right? Philips restructured their sprint reviews by splitting them into 2 sections: a high-level presentation for stakeholders to discuss product value and business goals, followed by a technical demo for the development team. So it's possible that after they took the high-level part first, and they say, okay, now stakeholders, we're going to get into our technical discussion. Feel free to leave. You can stay around if you want, but you are free to go. And I've done that before too in different companies where it's like, you can stay if you want, but you're free to go. We're going to get into some tech talk here, right? But followed by a technical demo for the development team. This kept the review focused and accessible for both technical and non-technical participants. The outcome for Philips on this was stakeholder engagement increased significantly as they could better understand how the sprint's outcomes align with business objectives. The team also received more actionable feedback, leading to improved backlog prioritization and customer-centric product development. So that's just very, very smart. And this is the beauty of Agile, right? And you adjust based on the needs, right? Because a lot of times we're so strict, like we have to do this, we have to do this. No, you adjust. You see that something's not working. How can we make it better? And then we go from there. So that wraps it up for today. In conclusion, we spoke about what are sprint reviews. We broke that down, why they are important, when and where do these sprint reviews actually happen, who should be attending these sprint reviews, what are the structures of the sprint review, the best practices that you can have to have an effective sprint review, some common challenges that teams face when conducting sprint reviews, some tips and tricks to get around those common challenges, the tools and techniques we use for these sprint reviews, how to measure success during a sprint review, for not during a sprint review, but for sprint reviews overall. We reviewed we reviewed 5 different case studies and examples. And then now, if you have any questions or feedback, do you think I could have gone in depth more into a particular topic? If you have any questions, whatever case may be, I'm more than happy to do that. Just let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. I promise. All right. But we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let's go back to full screen. All right, there we have it. Let me know what you think. Like, what are your thoughts? I know that it's a lot of information, but sprint review is pretty straightforward. Knowing what we're talking about, a lot of different moving components. But at the end of the day, the sprint review is to bring the tech team to the stakeholders so that they can see what we're working on, completed products, and get some feedback, and that we can move forward in building the best possible software ever. All right. That is it for today. Hopefully you found that very helpful and informative. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't done so already and you got this far, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live and drop new content. And go over to techcoachralph.dev, sign up today. You can sign up for free. You get access to all of the sprint reviews that I upload that the Tech Barbarians are conducting. And also get access to a bunch of other content, such like when I go live to help my Tech Barbarians to figure out how to use Microsoft Azure, how to automate in Playwright, so many different things that we do. So come and join us. And if you need one-on-one coaching, if you want to run it up with me, if you need to develop your resume, get ready for prepare for interviews, all that stuff, go ahead and sign up for the Patreon. We have different tiers. I can provide you with the skills that you need to get to the next step. All right. With that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really, really, really appreciate you all for rocking with me. The channel would be absolutely nothing without you. So thank you so much for helping us grow. That being said, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Wednesday, as well as rest of your week. I will see you live tomorrow night. This is Tech Coach Ralph with another episode of Software Explorations, Concept and Overviews. We are out.